All right, and we are back. It is Franchise Mode, episode number 21, and we are set to start the Stanley Cup playoffs with the Calgary Flames here in the 2019 Stanley Cup playoff season, and we have the Arizona Coyotes that we are facing in round number 1. So welcome to episode 21. The Calgary Flames have finished up their second season in our tenure as the GM and as the franchise mode owner, if you will. We finish up with a 44, 25, and 13 record. As mentioned, that is good enough for second place in our Pacific Division, second place in the Western Conference for a second straight year. So the Calgary Flames are heading back to the Stanley Cup playoffs for the third straight year, the fourth time in the last 5 years. Things are starting to turn around. It was quite a long stretch there of years where the Calgary Flames just weren't a playoff team, especially after that 2004 Stanley Cup run. We made the playoffs for a couple of years there, couldn't do much, and then there was a bit of a stretch there. But ever since that 2015 season, I believe it was, the Calgary Flames have now made the playoffs for 4 out of the last 5 years. So things turning around in the city of Calgary. The Flames are getting closer and closer to being a Stanley Cup contender. In fact, we believe that this is the year that we will be a Stanley Cup contender. So here we go. We are set to, as mentioned, start the playoffs here against the Arizona Coyotes. You can see there in episode 20, we finished up the month of March. After the trade deadline, a trade deadline in which we made a pretty big move in acquiring goaltender Craig Anderson for a first-round pick, a fifth-round pick in next year's draft, and Curtis Lazar. It was a pretty big trade. In these first couple of games that we put Craig Anderson in net, I believe it was this Dallas game that he was in net for the first time. It was pretty, or was it here? No, it was here. It was in this Tampa game that he played for the first time. He did not have a good start to his first couple of games as a Calgary Flame. We then went with Mike Smith for a few games, but then we gave Craig Anderson the net back here in the St. Louis game, and he had a pretty good game here, and then he continued to grow throughout the rest of the month and has turned into that number 1 starter that we acquired at trade deadline day. Now, obviously, if you watched episode 20, especially considering the title, you'll know that we fell victim to EA Sports' NHL trade deadline glitch, a glitch in which we acquired Rick Nash, but he was sent down to the American Hockey League. We couldn't call him up, even though the salary cap worked. It was just a glitch that commonly happens on EA Sports, and it was at the trade deadline, and so we ended up having to flip Rick Nash to the Carolina Hurricanes, and we at least got our second-round pick and a sixth-round pick back from Carolina. But we did give up a second round and John Gillies to get Rick Nash, which we obviously never got. So that was unfortunate. That glitches happen. I understand they're part of the game, but EA Sports, you got to fix your game there. That can't be happening here in franchise mode. Like I said, we're in the middle of our second season, or near the end of our second season here in franchise mode, and we're running into glitches like that at the trade deadline. So it was unfortunate, but we fixed it there somewhat. We traded out of it in episode 20. So as mentioned, it was a pretty successful final month of the month of March, for us in this season. We went 9-4-2 in this month of March. The previous month we went 6-3-2. Those were 2 pretty good months considering what happened in November through January, in which we did not have a good record. October was good. 9-2-2 in October. It went downhill from there. 8-6-1, 6-3-4. 3-5-2 in the following 3 months respectively, but then as mentioned in both February and March we went 6-3-2, 9-4-2 respectively there. So we finished off in good fashion. Like I said, it was good enough for second place in our division. So we're going to take a look at that now. Like I said, we will get to the playoffs in this episode 21, as mentioned here, and we will face the Arizona Coyotes. But we didn't get a chance, to take a look at the standings and stats for both of our team and for the league. So first things first is let's just quickly take a look at where everybody finished once again. Here's a look at the Pacific Division. There we are, 101 points, as mentioned, 44, 25, and 13 record. We finished 5 points back of the Vancouver Canucks, who finished first in the Western Conference and the Pacific Division. We were about 6 points back of winning our first divisional title since 2005. But like I said, we obviously failed to hit hit where Vancouver was, and we failed to record 6 more points to beat them for that divisional title. But hey, we'll take it. We still hit the 100-point plateau. We still finished obviously tops in our division and conference, and we still made the playoffs. You can see here is a pretty weak Pacific Division this year. There was us and there was Vancouver, but there was a huge drop off after us. Obviously by almost 16 points. We finished 16 points ahead of Arizona. So a huge 16-point gap between the number 2 team, us, and the number 3 team, Arizona, who we will face. And then you can see Vegas, who's just a couple points behind Arizona. They just miss. San Jose dropped way down there. Edmonton, Los Angeles, and Anaheim. So really, these bottom 4 teams were in the basement of the Western Conference. So very weak Pacific Division in which only 3 spots get locked up for the playoffs. That means that the 2 wildcard spots plus the 3 Central Division spots are in the Central. So there it is, St. Louis, 99 points, 98 for Winnipeg, 97 for Chicago, 86 for Minnesota, 85 for Colorado, and then 85 there for Dallas and 81 Nashville. So you can see, unlike our division, this was a very, very tight race right to the finish. St. Louis ends up winning their division by just 1 point. Winnipeg just 1 point back of them, 98. Chicago 1 point back of them, 97. And then a bit of a drop off, a 10-point difference, but still a pretty good logjam here in the bottom part of that Central Division. Minnesota and Colorado were just slightly better than obviously Vegas and San Jose, so they claim those 2 wildcard spots. But the Central Division a lot closer than the Pacific Division. If we went to the Western Conference, as you can see, there we are, second in the Western Conference out of 15 teams in the West. So pretty good finish there for the Calgary Flames. Again, the only other team besides Vancouver to hit the 100-point plateau in the West. So that was a pretty good season. The Western Conference, I believe, was slightly weaker than the East, so let's take a quick look at the Eastern Conference. If we were in the Eastern Conference, we would have finished just ahead of Pittsburgh and just behind Carolina. You can see the East was a little bit stronger. Toronto clinched the President's Trophy, I believe, or did Vancouver? No, it was Toronto, 106, and Toronto, 109. So yes, Toronto clinched their 2nd straight President's Trophy. 2 back-to-back years with Auston Matthews and the Leafs that Toronto is now a President's Trophy champions for those 2 straight years. Of course, they won the Stanley Cup in 2018 as well, so we will see if they can repeat. They are just dominating. A good 51 wins there, 24-7 as their record. 24-7, excuse me. So there's Toronto, Washington 106, Florida 105, Carolina 102, Pittsburgh 101 or 100, excuse me, 98 for Tampa. Columbus 98 and 96 for Boston. So those are your playoff teams in the East. Here are the teams that finished near the bottom in the East, but that's what it will look like in the East. So yeah, that's what it looks like. There's the entire NHL. We finished 6th in the entire National Hockey League. Excuse me. So not too bad. But we would have liked to have been maybe a little bit higher, but hey, like I said, we were one of the only 7 teams in the NHL to hit the 100-point plateau, and like I said, in our conference, in our division, we were right near the top, and we were in the top 6 in the entire National Hockey League. So not bad for a team that was poised to be picked to be a Stanley Cup contender this year. Of course, we went full out in the off season, bringing in guys like John Tavares and James Neal back, and then obviously at trade deadline, we went full out trying to get Craig Anderson and Rick Nash. We obviously got both of them, but obviously, like I said, with that glitch, we didn't end up getting Rick Nash. But nevertheless, we did go full out this past season because we are trying to contend for the Stanley Cup now. So that's a look at the team stats. We don't need to look at it too much more from there. But we will look at the player stats now. So this is a look at our where all the players finished here. Obviously, you can see leading our team the aforementioned John Tavares. This is why we went out and got him in the off season and signed him to a mega contract worth $10.5 million a year. That looked like overpay at the time, but you can see this is exactly why we got him. A 41 goal scorer, 78 points in 82 games. These guys do not grow on trees. When these guys hit the market, it is very, very, very rare. We were very lucky that we were able to snatch up John Tavares in the off season. Like I said, we had to pay $10.5 million per year to get this guy, but it was definitely worth it. 78 points and 41 goals in his first season as a Calgary Flame, plus 30. I mean, this is a pure superstar. This is a pure all-star, but this is exactly what we needed. Another guy to help anchor our team. You can see Johnny Gaudreau wasn't too far behind him, 71 points and 37 goals. So Gaudreau eclipsing the 30-goal plateau yet again, and the 70-point plateau. Good to see that out of Johnny Hockey, who is still the future face of our franchise, but alongside John Tavares, that's looking pretty good. And these two actually ended up playing the end of the season together on the top line. So I could only imagine if they were on the top line together all season, I bet you their point totals might even have been a little higher. Excuse me. Dougie Hamilton finishes at the 60-point plateau, 61 to be in fact. I believe that's the second straight season he eclipses the 50 assist plateau. Only 11 goals for Dougie this season, but like I said, he's getting it done in the assist department. Good enough for 61 points. Monahan also hitting the 60-point plateau. For yet another time in his career. I can't remember if he hit 60 points last year, but he is consistently around the 50 to 60 point mark. So pretty good to see out of Sean Monahan, who, like I said, was one of our top 2 centers all season long. Again, only 14 goals for Sean Monahan. That's a bit of a shock. This guy's usually closer to 30, but he did put it up in the assist department, playing alongside Johnny Gaudreau. A 50-point plateau for Sam Bennett. So this was the big one for us. Bennett started as our third line left winger. He got moved up to our top line right wing when we couldn't, about halfway through the season there, when we were looking for some chemistry and looking for some production out of our top 6. We moved Bennett up there, and he just took advantage of it and ran with it. 18 goals, 36 assists, good enough for 54 points. Again, out of a third liner, that's not bad. Like I said, we moved him up to the top line. He did grow as well to 84. So he started the season, I believe, as an 82. He has now grown to an 84. So low elite potential at 22 years of age. This guy's still growing, and when you play him in top line minutes like we did this season, or at least for half the season, we've seen him grow. I believe he was the only player on our roster that grew from the beginning of training camp till now. A lot of the growing happens during the off season before the next training camp, so we didn't see any other guys on our roster like all these guys here. They did not grow. Bennett was the only one that went up. He went up by 2, as mentioned, so that's pretty good. TJ Brody also hitting the 50-point plateau, so that is 6 players that we had eclipse the 50-point plateau. That's not bad. Matthew Tkachuk was just 1 point away from hitting 50. So technically 7 to 6 players were around the 50-point plateau, if not higher. Anytime you can have 6 to 7 of your top players hit the 50-point plateau, that's not bad. That was a very good season for our top players. A very good season offensively. So that's what you like to see. Again, 45 assists there for TJ Brody. Matthew Tkachuk, 17 goals. He almost hit the 20-goal plateau. And like I said, 1 point away from hitting 50. There's James Neal. He was actually only 5 points back from hitting 50 as well. So he was one of our top 6 forwards. Brought him back on that mega contract in which he's making $6 million a year. You'd probably like to see him a little closer to where Tavares, Gaudreau, and Monahan are, but hey, that's not bad. 45 points, 20 goals on the season. That's still pretty good. Michael Frolik, 1 away from 40 with 15 goals, 16 goals for Stieg, and 30 points, and 10 goals for Mark Jankowski. This was a bit of a disappointment. Of any of our players that I wanted to grow this season, it was Mark Jankowski. I'm happy that Sam Bennett took the jump, but I was wishing that Mark Jankowski would have also taken the jump. We project this guy, like I mentioned, to be our third line center for the entire for many years to come, for our future, and he hasn't yet to grow into that. We're hoping he can get close to 85 by the time he hits his plateau, but he's about 3 years away from that, and he's only at 78 right now, so 85 might be a bit of a stretch, but if he can at least get to the low to mid 80s, that would still be pretty good. We gotta at least get him to 80 by next year, so I was hoping he would get to 80, 81 by this year, but he stayed at 78. Didn't have the best season offensively, but you know what? He is playing on the third line, 10 goals and 25 assists, and this is one of the reasons we wanted to get depth, is because we failed to give Mark Jankowski proper line mates. His line mates pretty much all season after Sam Bennett left was Michael Frolik, Christopher Stieg, Michael Furlan. These guys are good, but they're not they're not third line players. Like, we wanted guys like Rick Nash in there, that guys in the low to mid 80s that could have helped. Help Mark Jankowski a little bit better, gave him a little bit more support on that on that third line. But we will obviously address that this offseason, and going into next season, we want to address our depth in the bottom six and help give Mark Jankowski two wingers that can give him some support. So 25 points is still not too bad, but you would have liked to seen a little bit more out of Mark Jankowski. He easily should have been putting up more points than Frolik and Versteeg, but hey, we will go from there. So that's Jankowski. There's Mark Giordano. The captain put up 22 points, as you can see. He's still in 87, but we can already tell he's starting to decline. He was, for the past how many seasons, one of our top defensemen every single year in terms of points. Dougie Hamilton has since recently eclipsed him the past couple of years, and even TJ Brody is now putting up more points, hitting the 50-point plateau. But that used to be Giordano. He used to always be around the 50-point plateau. 22 points is quite the difference now for Mark Giordano. So I just want to take a look here at his previous stats there. He put up 30 points last year, but the years before that, you can see he was around the 50-point plateau here, 47, 48, 56, a bit of a drop-off there in 2017, 39, then 30, and now 22. So he's slowly declining in terms of points. Like I said, he's still considered a 87, but he's probably starting to decline, and I wouldn't be surprised to see his 87 go down going into next year, and possibly going down to close to like an 85. The problem here is he still has 4 years left. It's going to be a hard contract to move. Right now, we need him. I'm not saying we're going to shop him. I'm not saying we're going to trade him. We need Giordano to win a Stanley Cup, and we have yet to hit that goal. So pretty much for the next 4 years, until we win a cup, we're going to be keeping this guy because he is still a top 4 defenseman, and we need him on our team. And he's really good with Dougie Hamilton. That pairing is our top pairing. It's been our top pairing for the last how many years? They're very good together, so we need to keep them intact and keep them together. But you can just tell that Mark Giordano at 35 years of age is starting to decline, and I wouldn't be surprised to see his overall total go down starting next year. But we will go from there. So there is Derek Roy, Travis Hamonic, and the bottom guys down here, as mentioned, Ferland Yaskins. Rasmus Anderson and Joe Morrill did not put up a lot of points, so don't be what's the word I'm looking for? Don't be misled. That's what I was looking for. Misled by this stat that these two are down here, because although they did not put up points as our third pairing, they were two of our best plus-minus players. Especially for a third pairing. You don't usually see this. Rasmus Anderson plus 15, Joe Morrill plus 22. This pairing was just so good together. Rasmus Anderson obviously didn't get to play a full season, whereas Joe Morrill did, and part of that was to do with that glitch when Rick Nash was sent down to the AHL, as was Rasmus Anderson, and then we couldn't call Rasmus Anderson up until later, until we put Slater Cuckoo down there and brought Rasmus Anderson back up. So it kind of messed things up there, but this pairing was really good together. When Joe Morrill was paired with Slater Cuckoo in the absence of Rasmus Anderson, that pairing really struggled. They were in the minuses almost every single night, and then we put Rasmus Anderson back with Joe Morrill, and they were back to the pluses. So it's amazing what just chemistry between two guys, especially as a third-line pairing, can do. Now, Joe Morrill is at 26 years of age at 78 overall. I don't think he's going to peak much more than that. He probably will reach his plateau next season. He may get to 79, maybe an 80 if we're lucky, but that's what I think he's going to stay at. Rasmus Anderson is only 22 years of age, so he's going to continue to grow. I was actually hoping, just like Mark Jankowski, he would reach around 80 by this time, by the playoffs, but he has yet to do that as well. So I'm really hoping that Jankowski and Anderson can take huge jumps this offseason in terms of their overall, because we're going to need that going into next year, obviously. So these bottom guys here, Cedric Parquet, Slater Cuckoo, Brett Kulak. Brett Kulak played all in the AHL for us, or he did play 20 games with us at the beginning, but then in the AHL. So that's just a quick look at our forwards and defensemen. Just quickly here at the goaltending, obviously Mike Smith played the majority of our season. We didn't go with Craig Anderson till the trade deadline, so this is kind of hard to judge these two goalies. 924 in 65 games for Mike Smith, not bad. 62 games for Anderson, the majority of them with Ottawa at 915, so we can't fairly judge Craig Anderson because he did play the majority of the games with Ottawa, and they were a pretty bad team. So that's a quick look at our players, our team. We're going to look at Arizona's here in a second, but I just want to look at where all the top goal scorers and point getters were in the entire National Hockey League. See how close John Tavares got to the top. So let's take a look at the entire league, and yeah, obviously I didn't expect Tavares to be in near the top, or at least not in the top 5. There's Steven Stamkos, who is going to win the Art Ross Trophy with 99 points. A year ago, it was Ovechkin in both the goals and point totals. It does look like Alex Ovechkin will take home the Rocket Richard, though yet again with 58 goals. But there is Steven Stamkos, 98 points, 87 for his running mate Nikita Kucherov, 87 for probably their other running mate on that line, Andre Palat. So if Stamkos, Kucherov, and Palat were a line in Tampa Bay, that was obviously by far the most lethal line in hockey because they finished 1, 2, and 3 in points in the NHL. There was Ovechkin with 85, as mentioned. He won the Art Ross last year, but hits 85 this year. 83 for Tarasenko, Giroux, Pacioretty, Sagan, Saad, and then there was John Tavares for us at 78 points. So Gaudreau should have just been down here somewhere as well. McDavid finishes with 74, but Gaudreau was, yeah, he was down there. So maybe top 30, top 20 for Johnny Gaudreau, and John Tavares should have been, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So John Tavares does crack the top 10 in NHL scoring, so that's good to see. Quickly looking at the goal departments, as mentioned, Alex Ovechkin, 58 goals. The only other guy to hit 50 goals this season was Steven Stamkos at 51, so not bad. John Tavares tied, or no, he finished 4th. I thought he was tied with Tarasenko for some reason. So finished 4th in goal scoring. There was Johnny Gaudreau as well in the top 10 in goal scoring. So not too bad. We had 2 guys in the top 10 in goal scoring, and 2 guys in the one guy in the top 10 in points and 1 guy in the top 20-ish in points. So not too bad. But obviously Gaudreau and Tavares are superstars. But that's not too bad. Like I said, though, looking at our stats, our scoring was kind of more spread out. We had about 6 to 7 guys that hit the 50-point plateau. So it wasn't all on just 2 guys. It was about 6 to 7 guys that really spread the scoring out throughout the team. So that's sometimes that's better than just having it on 2 guys. So that's a look at us. That is a look at the league. So I think now what we will do is take a look at the Arizona Coyotes. So we'll look at their lines here because they're our first round matchup, and we will look at their points here. So first of all, let's look at their lines. Let's just see what they've got constructed in terms of lines. So the Arizona Coyotes finished 16 points back of us then. So we did finish second in the Pacific Division as mentioned, but the Coyotes finishing 16 points back of us for third in our division. So obviously that's why we meet them here. But we'll take a look here at their stats here in a minute. I just want to take a look at their lines first. So here's a look at their lines. And by first impression, right here, you can see they've already, it's clear that they've got better depth than us in terms of all-around forwards. But we clearly, and I mean clearly, have a better top 6 than they do. So you can take a look here. Dylan Strome and Derek Stepan, that's not a bad 1-2 center punch there, but it's on the wing here. Max Domi, Clayton Keller, Christian Dvorak, and Brendan Perlini. These are not top 6 left wing and right wingers, so that's where we have them beat. Like I said, we have a guy that's 88 right here, a 92, and 84, and then we have an 87, 88, and an 84. So our top 6 is looking much better than their top 6 right now. But they have the better bottom 6. So you can see here, Tobias Reeder, Nick Cousins, and Anthony Duclair make up their third line. Anthony Duclair is actually their best right winger. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they swap him up here with Perlini or Dvorak, because at 83 he is one better than Perlini and Dvorak. So he is the best right winger on the third line. So they have a pretty solid third line compared to ours. Adrian Kempe, Lawson Krause, and Jamie McGinn round out their fourth line. Their fourth line is slightly stronger than ours as well. So they do have better all-around depth, I would say. Definitely a better bottom 6, but we have the much stronger top 6. Like, we have the superstar players like the John Tavares, the Johnny Gaudreaus, the Matthew Tkachuk, Sean Monahan, and even Sam Bennett and James Neal, who are each in 84 on our right wings there. So we have the much better loaded offense, if you will, against their team. So we should be able to beat them in that department. It's going to be our top-heavy offense versus their spread-out offense. And spread out depth. When you look at their defensemen here, they have Oliver Ekman-Larsson, who they were shopping, by the way, at the trade deadline. He's paired with Jacob Chikrin on that top pairing, who's in 83, and then John Moore and Alex Gorgolowski, their second pairing, 82, and then Patrick Nemeth and Luke Schenn. Now, our third pairing consists of Joe Morrill and Rasmus Anderson, both whom are a 78. Luke Schenn and Nemeth are both a 79, so they really only are, like, the third pairings are pretty equal. They're one better than us on the third pairing, but they're pretty much pretty equal. Where we have them where we have them beat here is in the top four. We have an 89 and an 87, and then an 87 and an 83. So our top four is much better. They only really have one guy in their top four that's good, and that's this guy right here, Oliver Ekman-Larsson. These other three guys are not really top. These guys are more bottom four pairings versus top four pairings. So we definitely have a better defensive core than they do. Let's take a look at their goaltending, and there it is. You can see right there, we clearly have them beat in the goaltending department with Craig Anderson and Mike Smith. Craig Anderson, who is now an 86, was an 87, but is now an 86. And then we have Mike Smith, who's an 82. They only have Antti Ratna, who's an 83, and Louis Domingue, who is a 79. So their best goalie is an 83. We have an 86. We should easily beat them in the goaltending department here, and we have a better tandem overall, but much better overall goaltending than they do. Just taking a quick look there at their special teams. This is what they're looking at with their power plays. It's not going to matter too much, though. Hopefully we win that special teams battle. Excuse me. But yeah, that's just a quick look at the Coyotes lines. That's a look at what we're going to face. So I think we do have a top-heavy offensive group in our top six compared to what they have. Theirs is more spread out. Let's take a quick look at ours here. As mentioned, there's our top six. Much heavier, much more powerful than theirs, but they have us beat down here. Their depth is much stronger than ours, obviously, but we're not too far off. We do have Frolik, who's an 82, Versteeg, who's one away from an 80, and then a bunch of 78s here and a 77. So we're not too far off, but our offense is a lot more top-heavy than theirs, and we'll see if that is enough to beat their spread-out depth. It's going to be an interesting matchup because I wonder how that's going to work. As mentioned, here is our top four that's much stronger than their top four. Third pairings are pretty much the same there, but our top four much stronger, and our goaltending is much stronger than the Coyotes there with Craig Anderson at an 86. So I'm liking the matchup there. I think we have a stronger all-around matchup. Definitely beat them in the goaltending department. Definitely beat them in the defensive department. I wonder if we beat them in the offensive department, just because ours is top heavy. In our top six, we do have those superstars, and I wonder if their all around depth is better than ours. So let's just take a quick look at their stats all around there. So their top guy is Clayton Keller, 66 points. You can see 40 assists, 63 there for Christian Dvorak. Oliver Ekman-Larsson, who is their best defenseman, was a -4, but 58 points there. Derek Stepan looks like he led them in goals with 29, 56 points there. So very similar to us. They have a lot of guys that are in above 50. So we had 6 guys above 50. Matthew Tkachuk was a 49, so I'll include him. So 7 guys that were 50 points or higher. They have 5 guys that were 50 points or higher. So that's actually pretty good because their offense is just as spread out as ours. If you want to include Dylan Strome, who was a couple points just like Matthew Tkachuk was, that's actually 6 players as well. That was so we had 7 technically. They had 6 technically that were 50 points or higher. Rounding up, with Tkachuk and Strome. So that's not bad. Their offense is very spread out. It's very similar to our offense. As you can see, even guys down here, like they consistently have guys in the 20-point plateau. Very spread out offense there for the Arizona Coyotes. So very similar to us, but our offense is more top heavy. I don't know how else to describe it. We have like all the power up front in our top 2 lines. They got it kind of more spread out, but they don't have that power in really any line. It's just really spread out evenly. So this is going to be a good matchup. I'm looking forward to it. This is going to be a very good. The interesting one is going to be as Emil Poya gets injured in Stockton, as they have already started their playoffs. The interesting one to me is going to be that offensive matchup. I'm really looking forward to seeing what Hunter Smith and all the lines here, what the offensive matchup is going to be like there. against the Coyotes and Flames. I hope our offense has enough to get it done, especially our top 6 guys. Like, I hope the guys like Tavares and Gaudreau and Monahan can come through in this series and get the job done that way. So, you know what? Without further ado, let's just jump right into it. We are jumping in to Game 1 of the Western Conference quarterfinals against the Arizona Coyotes. They did beat us, you can see down here on this lower screen, 6-4 in the final game of the regular season. But hey, that was the regular season. This is playoffs. It's a brand new series, brand new season. Hopefully we can win this best of 7 series. So I'm not going to make any lineup changes from that final game against the Coyotes. I think what we've got is good enough to get it done. So let's jump into Game 1. We have home ice advantage to start off this series against the Coyotes. We are going to do real-time sim here. Flames and Yotes, Game 1. We got to take a early lead in this series. We can't give the Coyotes any life in this playoff series. Obviously, we want to capitalize as early here as possible. So they get the first goal of the series. It's going to be Brendan Perlini on the power play. So our penalty kill goes 0 for 1 here. That's not good to see. In terms of the special teams, they have so far won that here. 1-0 early on 9 shots. We have 10 shots. Let's continue here into the second period. Come on, Flames. Let's get that offense rolling. And we do. Mark Jankowski, so that's huge. Didn't expect our depth to play a strong role in this series. We'll see if that continues against their depth. If we can win the depth scoring matchup, I think we have a good chance of winning this series. But there's 2 quick goals, Dvorak and Krause, and they have made this suddenly a 3-1 game. And now Clayton Keller makes it 4-1, and I believe we had a power play there too, in which we did not capitalize. So 4 goals on 23 shots. That's not looking good right now for Craig Anderson and our team. We need to find the answer here. So down 4-1. We really can't afford to go down 1-0 in this series. There's Matthew Tkachuk. He gets in on the fun. Come on, power play. There we go. Matthew Tkachuk again. Wha-bam, wha-bam. But then they score. Jamie McGinn. So just when it looked like we were pulling in, and here's Versteeg again. We still have 7 minutes left here. They're making this a game. Here's the power play. Come on, power play. Come on, just tie it up, and we don't. So they get the empty netter, 7 seconds left. So what a wild opening game, especially in that third period. You can see 6 goals, or 5 goals, 2 from Matthew Tkachuk, 1 from Versteeg. For us, 6-4 final. But they really had us pretty much that whole game. We never did lead at all at any point in this game. It was 4-1 at one point for them before that third period. Not a good game all around for us. That was a sloppy game for the Calgary Flames. A bunch of guys in the minuses here. That fourth line included with Ferland, Parkett, and Yaskins. So not good there. I don't know what we can't really do much for lineup changes because we don't even have that extra guy right now. But not good at all. Craig Anderson, an 815 save percentage, so not good. I'm going to give him game 2. Just because he is our starter. He won the job there in this last part of the season, so I am going to give him another shot here, but if he has another poor game, Mike Smith is coming in. The leash is going to be pretty short on Anderson from this point on, because we can't afford, this is only a 7-game series, best of 7-game series. We can't afford to go to get ourselves in a hole here. So we already are in a 1-0 series hole here against the Arizona Coyotes. But let's sim up here to game number 2, and hopefully we can claw our way back in here. That was a very wild game, and not really a good game for us at all in any standpoint. So scoring was kind of even. I don't know if I want to make any offensive lineup changes. Like I said, I wasn't happy with our fourth line. Our third line did score, but I wasn't happy with this line down here. Yaskins, Parkett, and Ferland, but can't do too much about it. You know, we can maybe swap Bennett and Neal, but I think we'll wait. Well, I think we'll go into game 2 and see what we got here. In terms of goaltending, like I said, I'll stick with Craig Anderson. So our special team was not getting it done here in this one, so we're going to try switching things up here. So let's just do a Monahan here. Let's probably putting Giordano down here. Just some minor changes there to our power play, and see if we can maybe switch things up here ahead of game number 2. So let's jump in right into game number 2 then. Let's get going here. Got to even this series up. We have home ice advantage here. We can't afford not to even the series up. So let's go here. Early goal there by Sam Bennett. That's what we like to see. So let's see if we can build off that 1-0 lead and at least tie this series up before we head into games 3 and 4 back down in Arizona. Excuse me. Here's our first look at the power play. Doesn't get it done, and then they score. A strong penalty kill by them, and then Christian Dvorak ties it up. But there's a power play, and John Tavares gets his first of the series. So good to see our leading point scorer and goal scorer John Tavares coming through for us. That is huge. We have the 2-1 lead. There's Mark Giordano getting his first of the series, the captain, picking one up there. So that's also what you'd like to see there. 3-1 series, or 3-1 lead here in game number 2. We got to tie this up going back to Arizona for games 3 and 4. So there's Cedric Parquet. Good response by the fourth line after a pretty poor performance in game 1 by them. They come through with a goal here in game 4, and that's a huge goal as it puts us up by 3. Final period play here, Flames and Coyotes. They get one to make this one interesting. Nick Cousins. Come on, Flames. We got to hang on here. We can't blow this one now. Close this out. Huge penalty kill here. Come on, Flames. Come on. And we're about halfway through the period. We do kill that penalty. We got to find a way to hang on to this game here. Let's get this series tied. Let's make it a best of 5, and it looks like we will. 4-2 is the final. The Calgary Flames hang on and win their first game of the series. So much better game for the Calgary Flames all around. That's obviously a much better game. That's why I left Craig Anderson in net to see if he could prove himself in here. Joe Morrill, Rasmus Anderson. Don't usually see that. They're in the minuses, so we'll watch that. We do have the option, don't forget, Slater Cuckoo that we could bring in as well. But much better night for our team all around. Hamilton and Brody, each with multi-point games. 9-3-9 for Craig Anderson. Much better bounce-back game for him here in game number 2. So, through 2 games, it's a 1-1 series tie. We will head into game number 3 here in Arizona, and now we've got to start taking advantage here. Let's jump in here, and let's get the series lead here in game 3. So I'm not going to make any lineup changes then. I was thinking of maybe tweaking up the power play and or the penalty kill because it's been quite inconsistent through the first 2 games. But I think we'll leave it for now, and we'll just we'll jump right in here into game number 3 and see if we can build off of that 4-2 win there that we had there in game 2. So quickly, we'll put Emil Poye back in the Stockton Heat's playoff race here. I haven't even checked on their series, but we'll get him back in there, switch him there with Zach Fisher, and hopefully the Heat are doing good down in the American League. Like I said, I think they had a pretty good season down there as well, but all of our focus right now up here with our NHL club. So, as mentioned, building off that 4-2 win, so let's just jump right into Game 3. We're now continuing the series back down into Arizona, and I clicked play game by accident here, so we'll go to sim game. That's what I meant to do. But yeah, we're going back down now to Arizona to continue the series, games 3 and 4. It's a 1-1 series split. Obviously, that first game, like I said there, I didn't like it. It was a bit of a up and down game, especially for our team to be in such a huge scoring game that obviously we turned out on the wrong side of that game. So here is Johnny Gaudreau. He has scored his first goal of the series, 1-0 early here in Arizona. So that is good. We are about halfway through now past the halfway mark of the first period. So we got to just continue to build off of that second game. That was a much better game for our team all around. We do get the 1-0 lead after 20. 15-7 shots. Like to see that as well. So hopefully we can keep it going here into the second period. First penalty kill of the game, and we get it done. So that's what I said. Special teams was pretty bad there in game 1. Picked it up in game 2. Still a little inconsistent, but we'll continue to play it out with what we've got there on both our power plays and penalty kills. So still 1-0 through just 40 minutes of play. So we'll go into the third period. This is very unusual. This has been a high scoring series through the first 2 games. James Neal, he gets his first of the series. That's a huge goal for James, the real deal. Neal puts us up 2-0 in the third period, halfway mark of the third period, and then they score. Clayton Keller. 8 minutes left, lots of time in this one. Come on, Flames, we gotta hang on here. 5 minutes to go, up 2-1 on James Neal, and will we hang on? We do. What a huge 2-1 win for the Calgary Flames here in game number 3. So I said it all season long. I'll say it again. You got to find a way to win those 2-1 games, and we do just that. A very interesting game. Just one goal through 40 minutes of play. 2 goals in the final frame. One by James Neal, one by Clayton Keller. But we do pull out with a 2-1 win. So that is huge. That is huge. There is a look at Gaudreau and Neal getting the only goals for us. And Hamilton and Brody continue to put points. 9-6-3 for Craig Anderson. That's what you like to see. Excuse me. He is playing very, very well in these last 2 games. That first game, I don't know what was going on, but has had a much better effort in these last 2 games, games 2 and 3. So wasn't expecting that in game 3, a 2-1 final, but we will obviously take it. A win's a win. Just happy that we were able to refrain them from getting too many goals, obviously, and we were able to get enough to get the win. So we will take that. So let's move ahead to game number 4. Very big game coming up here. I like to say that game 4 is usually sometimes maybe the most important game of the entire series, because this could make or break it. If we win this game, we could take a 3-1 stranglehold on our series. If they win it, it's not a back. Excuse me, it's not a backup at 2, and it's anybody's series. Then it becomes a best of 3. So we want to obviously avoid that. We want to be heading back to Calgary with a stranglehold on this series, heading into game 5. So let's see if we can get game number 4. Just looking down there at the Central Division, a couple 3-1 series there for the St. Louis Blues and 3-0 for the Hawks. 2-2 deadlocked in the Pacific there with Vancouver and Colorado, who we will face the winner of that series. Let's jump right into game 4. I've been impressed with the last 2 games here. Can we take a stranglehold on this series? This is going to be huge. This is a massive, massive game. Might be the most important game of the series when it's all said and done. So early PK, very first minute of the hockey game, we kill it off. But they've already got 9 shots on net. Now our turn on the power play, and they kill it off. So there is Michael Furleek, third line scoring coming in there for us. That is huge. That's what you like to see. Froyo getting it done on just 10 shots now through the first 20 minutes of play. It ends up being 12, so we pile on a couple more shots there. They were out shooting us for quite a bit during that first period. Obviously had the momentum with that early power play. There's another power play for them, and then we get one with a little bit of 4-4 there in between. Nobody scores on the special teams. Here's another power play, and there we go, John Tavares. So we have to win the special teams battle in this series, and we are doing that so far. So that is good. Those first 2 power plays of that second period, each team had an abbreviated power play because it was 4-4. Just like right here, there was another example of that. 2 abbreviated power plays because 4-4s cancel it out. But then we got that other power play there in the second, and we scored. And they get a power play here in the third, and they score. And they're now on another one. It's a 2-1 lead. Come on, Calgary, hang on. 3 minutes. This is another close game. We got to hang on here. And we do. There we go. Back-to-back 2-1 wins in the desert in games number 3 and 4. That's what you like to see right there. So getting it done. 2-1. You know what? I have no problem with 2-1 games as long as we're winning them. So that is another big game. So really liking it. We are controlling the play here. Like I said, winning back-to-back games 2-1. They're in Arizona on the road in the playoffs. You can't go wrong with that. A 9-6-8 there for Craig Anderson. So, yeah, you know what? Wasn't expecting that out of games 3 and 4, but you know what? We got the wins, and that's all that matters. That's now 3 straight wins in this series to take a stranglehold. 3-1 series lead. We have them on the brink of elimination. This is exactly where we want them heading into game number 5. We don't want to blow that dangerous 3-1 lead, the most dangerous lead in sports. But let's see if we can just finish this off now here in game number 5. So. Like I said, very, very good last couple of games for the Calgary Flames, and we were winning the special teams battle for the majority of it, so let's see if we can keep that up. I think that's going to be key to win this series, and of course, like we said earlier in this episode, it's really our top-heavy offense versus their depth offense. Can we win that battle? So far, we are. We've seen goals from guys like Michael Furleek, guys like Dmitry Yaskins and Mark Jankowski, so if we can continue to get goals from these type of guys and win that special teams battle. So Like I said, no lineup changes. We've won 3 straight. We have the Coyotes on the brink of elimination. Let's see if we can finish off the Arizona Coyotes in round 1 and move on to the Pacific Division Finals in round number 2. But we need a win here, and they get the first goal of the game very early and third shot of the game, but then we score on our second shot of the game. Johnny Gaudreau responds for the Flames, so huge here. At home, game number 5, we have a chance to end this series right here. We got to do it. Come on, Flames, hang on here. So about halfway through the first period, it's Lawson Krause, it's Johnny Gaudreau. 11-7 are the shots, so we bounce back there. Come on, second period, huge second period here, Flames. Come on, let's jump out in front of them here. No special teams yet in this one. And there we go. Lawson Krause has scored for them yet again. So this is not good. They're battling back here. Obviously, they're facing elimination. They're going to want to be playing their best. So Nick Cousins makes it 3-1. Now they got a 5-on-3. We do kill it off. That's a huge kill. Can we gain momentum from that? Doesn't look like it. And they bury another late one. That is a brutal second period. Just when it looked like we could have been in it, Cousins and Krause doing all the damage there in the second, so that is not good. They have a 4-1 lead on us. Now another power play for Arizona, and they score in it just to make things that much worse. They get 2 more here. Keller and Krause, I believe that's the hat trick, so I do not know what happened in this game. This is horrible. Excuse me. So, what a poor performance by the Calgary Flames in Game 5 when they had a chance to eliminate the Arizona Coyotes, and they let them put up the 6th spot. So I accidentally paused that. So that is the game, 6-1 Arizona Coyotes in game number 5, making a statement that they are just not going away in this series. I didn't expect it to be an easy one, but definitely didn't expect it to get blown out at home, 6-1. So another spread out minuses here for our team, not what you like to see here. It's going to be tough to make too many lineup changes from that game. Rasmus Anderson was a -2. Joe Morrill a -1. We could look at that third pairing. Not a good night there for Craig Anderson after a couple stellar games. It just there's that inconsistency again. We've talked about it. That's the fun of it. So yeah, so that's not good. We are now going back down to Arizona. It's now a 3-2 series lead. We've given them life. This is just not good. We cannot. Like, I can't say it anymore in sports. When you get to a 3-1 series lead and then you let them claw their way back into it, it is just a recipe for disaster. So, the current round of the AHL playoffs are over. The Stockton Heat prevail 3-1 in their series. I believe there's a best-of-5 series in the AHL, so they win that one. They will play, looks like, the Tucson Roadrunners, which, oddly enough, is the Coyotes affiliate. So that's just great. So, anyways. Back to the NHL. Like I said, 3-1 is always the hardest series lead. If you blow it, it's just a snowball effect from there. So we cannot give the Coyotes anything else here, starting with Game 6. Just looking here, I'm thinking of maybe swapping Rasmus for Slater Cuckoo just for one game, just to try it. I think we will. Just make a minor change. Joe Morrill, and Rasmus Anderson have just not been themselves in this series thus far, so we will try making a minor swap right here with our very young 22-year-old Rasmus Anderson and bring in Slater Cuckoo, who's a little bit more experienced in the National Hockey League. We'll obviously keep Craig Anderson in goal. Not going to do too much to the special teams. There wasn't much of a special teams battle in game number 5. They did get a couple power play goals. We didn't really get too many opportunities, so I won't go crazy there. I think we'll roll into Game 6 just like this, and try to end the series once again here. So the Hawks have beat the Jets 4-0. The other series in the West are tied up at 3-3. We want to avoid that, obviously. We do not want to have to go back up to Calgary for Game 7. Let's end this right now in Arizona. So very, very poor Game 5. Can we bounce back? This is gut check time. This is where the best teams have to be able to bounce back from a 6-1 loss and be able to claw their way back and win this hockey game. So we have to do that here. So come on, Calgary Flames. We have to show that we're a good team here. End this series. I do not want to give the Coyotes any life. We had a 3-1 series lead. Come on, Calgary. So almost through the first period and no scoring just yet. This is going to be a very tight game. I would not be surprised to see another 2-1 game here. Second period. Come on, Flames. Hang on here. They're out shooting us right now by a score of 17-11. Let's see. Come on, Calgary. No goals, and we're about halfway through the entire regulation, and then Brendan Perlini scores. So this is not good. Come on, Calgary. Bounce back here. Come on. Let's get a tight one here. Come on. Let's tie this up. Let's just start with tie. Oh, my God. Clayton Keller scores. Jesus. Okay. So they have a 2-0 lead. We're heading into the third period. We've only had 21 shots on net. They have 25. This is just not good at all. So they have really... We've given them life in this series with that fifth game, and they're just going right now. We got to find a way to stop that. They're playing at home. They want to obviously force a seventh game, but we've got to put them away right here. We cannot afford to let them go back to Calgary. Like, come on. Huge third period here. Biggest period of our season, and we get one. Johnny Gaudreau, we get two. Dougie Hamilton, little brother Dougie, getting it done. This game is tied. Back to a tie game here. And then they score. Jesus Christ. Brendan Perlini on the 33rd shot of the game for them. Come on, 6 minutes, Calgary. Just tie it. Force overtime. Come on, Flames. Yes! Johnny T has forced overtime. This is exciting. Okay, so Game 6 is going to extra time. They had a 2-0 series lead. They blew it. A 2-0 lead in this hockey game. They blew it. We tied it. They took the lead again. We tied it again. We're just not going away. Can we put them away in overtime? This is it. Got check time. The first overtime of the Stanley Cup playoffs for us. Can we just finish this series? One goal. That is the difference right here. Come on, Flames. One goal. And we get it. The Calgary Flames on John Tavares' second of the hockey game is the series winner. Wow. That is huge. I'm just like, oh, I'm ecstatic. What an exciting way to finish off this series. I wish it hadn't gone as far as it did. But at the end of the day, we came out with a 4-2, series win. So huge monster game by John Tavares, who has 3 points, 2 goals and assists. Huge monster game by Dougie Hamilton. Our top guys really coming through. Bennett, Gaudreau, 2 points. Sean Monahan, 2 points. Our top guys finally came through for us in this one when it was all said and done. And they waited till the second half of the hockey game to do it. Craig Anderson quietly has a 917 save percentage there for 33 saves on 36 shots. Yeah, it was 2-0 Coyotes. I didn't know. It really looked like we were going to Game 7, but at the end of the day, our top guys finally come through at the end there. 2 goals by John Tavares, including the overtime winner in Game 6 that just silences the Gailey River Arena in Arizona and gives us the W, which obviously, like I said, is enough to win the series. So a big series there against the Coyotes. We're going to end this episode here now. That is exciting. The Calgary Flames are moving on to the second round for a matchup with either the Vancouver Canucks or the Colorado Avalanche. So you know what? Why don't we sim right up to see who our opponent is, just so we know heading into episode 22. So we still don't know. Let's sim another day here. They're deadlocked at Game 7, Canucks and Avalanche. And it will be the Colorado Avalanche. So they prevailed. They beat the Western Conference and Pacific Division leading Vancouver Canucks. So a bit of an upset there. The wild card Colorado Avalanche, who just squeak into the playoffs, upset the number 1 seed in the West, the number 1 seed in our division, and they move on. So this is going to be an interesting matchup to get the Colorado Avalanche in in round 2. I don't think we've seen a lot of them. So that will be interesting. So coming up in episode 22, we will take a look at the Colorado Avalanche. We'll take a look at their roster. We'll take a look at their lineups. We'll get you set for that entire matchup. And then we will have round 2. The Calgary Flames, the Colorado Avalanche. It was a thrilling Game 6 overtime winner by John Tavares. The Flames win the series 4-2. They will face the Avalanche. It will be the Blues and the Hawks in the Central. Leafs facing the winner of the Panthers or Lightning. And it will be the Blue Jackets and the Hurricanes. So round 2 coming up in episode 22. Very exciting end to episode 21 for the Calgary Flames.